Hello, this video is going to be about analyzing the pronunciations and phonetics of a specific accent, African accent. I'm going to show you some clips and we are going to analyze it as we go through each one. Let's take a look at the video.
Since this pandemic of COVID-19, but the threat has gone high in terms of people wanting to do poaching.
Okay, so you can see how he pronounces the sentence since this pandemic of COVID-19.
Since this pandemic of COVID-19.
You can hear how different it is from the British accent. Since this pandemic of COVID-19, emphasis on how he says this and 19. He said it with the D sound and not the sound. And 19, he pronounced it flat at the end with I sound instead of E sound. This shows how the influence of their mother tongue language applied in the English. Now let's take a look at this part.
People wanting to do poaching.
You can see how he pronounces the T sound. He pronounces it at the roof of his tongue. D, 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 D. Where in English, we pronounce it behind our teeth. Ta, 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 ta. Finally, the most prominent part is where he pronounces poaching. He uses sh sound instead of ch sound, which sounds like poaching instead of poaching. This happened because of the influence in their own native language that makes their tongue used to how something are pronounced. They often sound more flatter and more different in stressing in some of the words.
Mostly, I would say it's a big five, that is the elephants, rhinos, buffaloes, and even they'll go for lions. Once these guys are idle, they don't have a job, they want an income, they may want to try other things like maybe poaching a rhino, poaching an elephant, and sell those trophies for their living.
For my part, I observed that the speaker has a clear African English accent, and this is very different from standard British English in terms of pronunciation. One good example is the word poaching.
They may want to try other things like maybe poaching a rhino, poaching an elephant.
In British English, it's pronounced as poaching with a strong ch sound, but the speaker says it's more like poaching, where the ch turns into a softer sh sound, making the word smoother and less harsh. Another example is the word elephants.
The big five, that is the elephants.
A British speaker would say elephant, but the African speaker shortens it to something like elephant, skipping the middle sound. It makes the word sound quicker and flatter. Then, the word buffaloes also sounds slightly different.
Rhinos, buffaloes.
In British English, it's usually said as buffaloes with the last part blended smoothly, but the speaker pronounces it more like buffaloes, where the final syllable is more distinct and separated. Lastly, he says lions in a very noticeable way.
And even they'll go for lions.
Rather than the British lions, he says something like lions, adding a soft y in the middle. It stretches the word slightly and gives it a more flowing sound. Overall, the African accent here uses more melody and open syllables, while British English sounds tighter and more clipped. The rhythm and emotion in the speaker's voice make his pronunciation feel more expressive.
It's really tough to think that in a year or so this might be endangered. To be a conservationist, you have to be an optimist. So instead of giving in to the doom and gloom, we're going to feel the discouragement, but just keep pressing on.
Hey everyone, today I want to talk about a small but noticeable difference in pronunciation that I heard in a video. Most of the speaker's words sounded fairly close to British English, but one word stood out, year. Specifically, in the sentence, it's really tough to think that in a year or so, this might be endangered. The way the speaker said year sounded more like yale, which caught my attention.
It's really tough to think that in a year or so this might be endangered.
In many African English accents, especially where English is a second language, words like year can have different vowel patterns. Instead of the smooth British sound, it sometimes came out as year, sounding like year. So the full sentence sounds more like, it's really tough to think that in a year or so this might be endangered. It almost sounds like the word yellow without the L. It's longer, more diphthongal, and the vowel move upward toward O. Now, compare that with the BBC pronunciation of year, which is typically year, sounding like year. It's soft, neurotic, and the vowel glides gently. So in a British accent, the sentence would be, it's really tough to think that in a year or so, this might be endangered. It blends into the sentence rhythm and sounds smoother and lighter. Let's say the key of the part sentence side by side. So in African, in a year or so, but BBC, in a year or so. The year has more tension and lift, while year is more relaxed and flat. So even though most of the sentence felt British in tone, that one word, year, really highlighted a regional difference. It shows how just one vowel can change the whole feeling of the sentence.